Mirabel cooked her boyfriend's meals with her menstrual blood, hoping it would bind his heart and force him to love her. Mirabel had had 8 failed relationships. 8! There was Chinedu, who said he wanted to marry her once he stabilized, then vanished after 3 months. There was Ibrahim, who introduced her to his sister, but married another woman 2 weeks later. There was Ken, the wound that still bled. Ken had stayed for 1 year. 1 year of promises, 1 year of future talk, 1 year that made Mirabel abandon her admission to study in Germany, an opportunity she had prayed for, fasted for, cried for. Ken ended it with a phone call. Mirabel, I've thought about it. I don't think this is what I want anymore. No explanation, no apology, just silence afterward. Kunle came into Mirabel's life quietly, the way rain starts without thunder. There was no dramatic meeting, no fireworks. He was introduced by a mutual friend at a small dinner gathering. Polite, well-spoken, calm in a way that made Mirabel uneasy at first. She had grown used to men who rushed her, men who burned hot and disappeared faster than Harmattan mist. Kunle was different. He listened. When Mirabel talked about her work, he didn't interrupt. When she mentioned her past relationships, carefully edited, painfully guarded, he didn't pry. He simply nodded, asked gentle questions, and remembered things she forgot she had said. Most importantly, Kunle stayed. 3 months passed, then 6, then 9. For the first time in her adult life, Mirabel felt something unfamiliar creeping in, hope, and with it, fear. Kunle was an only son. His mother called often. His family name carried weight. He owned his own business and spoke casually about future plans, though he never said the word marriage directly. Mirabel noticed everything. She noticed how Kunle never slept over more than twice a week. She noticed how he avoided conversations about introductions. She noticed how he loved her body, but was careful with promises. Her heart, seasoned by disappointment, whispered warnings. But Mirabel's body remembered. Every time Kunle delayed a visit, her chest tightened. Every time he hesitated to meet her friends, panic crept in. Every time he said, "Let's see how things go," her stomach dropped. She began to watch him, not with love alone, but with desperation disguised as devotion. She cooked his favorite meals, she dressed softer, quieter, she laughed less loudly. She tried to become the woman men didn't leave. Still, something inside her refused to relax. 2 days later, Mirabel went to the salon. She didn't plan to overhear anything. She only wanted to fix her hair. Long braids, neat, respectable, the kind of hair that said wife material without speaking. The salon was alive with its usual chaos, music blaring from a small speaker, the smell of burning hair, women arguing over styles and prices, but the voices behind her cut through everything else. Men don't stay because of love, one woman said calmly. They stay because something holds them. Mirabel's fingers tightened around her phone. "I'm telling you," another replied. "After everything I did for him, he still almost left. That was when I knew love alone is foolishness." "So what did you do?" a younger girl asked. There was a brief pause, then a low laugh. "I secured my home." Mirabel's breathing slowed, as if her body didn't want to make a sound that would betray her interest. "Married women are doing it," the first woman continued. "Even engaged women. Some of us were tired of crying." "Is it not risky?" a younger one asked nervously. "Everything in life has risk. Marriage too has risk. At least this one gives results." The stylist tugged Mirabel's head gently. "Madam, small more." Mirabel nodded as her eyes fixed on her reflection. But she wasn't seeing herself. She was seeing Ken's name on her phone screen, hearing his final words again. "I don't think this is what I want anymore." Behind her, the women continued. "My own husband changed. No more rooming. Some people will call it evil, but were the men kind when they wasted our years?" Silence followed. Not the awkward kind, the heavy kind. Mirabel felt something settle in her chest. Not excitement, not relief, recognition. By the time her hair was finished, she already knew that she would not forget this conversation. Outside, the women stood near the roadside. Mirabel pretended to check her phone, then slowly drifted closer. The bold woman stepped away first. Mirabel followed, at a distance, not close enough to be noticed, not far enough to lose her. They walked for a short while, then the woman suddenly turned. Their eyes met. Mirabel froze. The woman studied her for a moment, then sighed, not surprised, not annoyed. "You followed me," she said. Mirabel lowered her eyes. "I didn't plan to," she whispered. The woman reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. "Take my number." Mirabel looked up, confused. "I'm not taking you anywhere today," she said flatly. "If you rush into things like this, you will regret it." She scribbled the number on a piece of paper. "Go home, think. Pray if you believe in prayer. If you are still ready tomorrow, call me." Mirabel hesitated. "Does it really work?" she asked softly. The woman met her gaze. "It works for those who can carry the consequences." Then she walked away. That night, Mirabel couldn't sleep. Kunle called. She answered, forcing lightness into her voice. "You sound tired," he said. "Just long day," I replied. After the call, she lay awake staring at the ceiling. 8 men, 1 year wasted, a future abandoned. By morning, her decision had formed. Not boldly, but heavily. She picked up her phone and dialed the number. The woman answered on the second ring. "I was wondering if you would call," she said. Mirabel closed her eyes. "I'm ready," I whispered. The woman told Mirabel to meet her early, before the sun climbed too high, before the world fully awoke. "Some things are easier when the day is still innocent," she said on the phone. Mirabel arrived at the junction 15 minutes early. She wore a simple dress, no makeup, her newly braided hair covered with a scarf. She didn't plan to look plain, almost invisible, but something told her this was not a place vanity followed you into. They took 2 buses and then a motorcycle. The road narrowed, the city sounds fading behind them. By the time they stopped, her heart was racing, not from fear alone, but from the weight of finality. This didn't feel like a visit, it felt like a crossing. The compound was old, mud walls cracked with age, a zinc roof rusted brown. At the center sat a small shrine house, its door slightly open, the air around it unnaturally still. Mirabel smelled burning herbs before she saw the smoke. The woman spoke quietly now. "Once you enter, don't lie, don't joke, don't cry unnecessarily." Mirabel nodded. Inside, the native doctor sat on a low wooden stool. He didn't look dramatic. No feathers, no shouting. Just an old man with sharp eyes that seemed to look through Mirabel instead of at her. He didn't greet her. Instead, he asked one question. "How many men have passed through you?" Mirabel's mouth went dry. She glanced at the woman, who nodded once. 8, Mirabel said. The old man exhaled slowly. "You are tired." It wasn't a question. He asked about Kunle, his name, his birth order, his mother, whether Mirabel loved him or feared losing him more. Mirabel answered everything. When she finished, the man was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke. "This thing you want is not love medicine. It is holding medicine." Mirabel nodded quickly. "I just want him to stay," she said. "I want marriage. I want peace." The old man looked at her sharply. "Peace that is forced has a cost." He explained the ritual plainly, without mystery. Every month, during her menstrual flow, Mirabel was to collect a small portion of the water she used in washing her VJ. She would add it to food she personally cooked for Kunle. "Do not let another woman cook that day," he warned. "Do not eat the food yourself. It is not meant for you." Her stomach twisted. "How long?" she asked. "Until his people come to your door." The woman beside her shifted slightly. "And if she stops?" the woman asked. The old man's gaze hardened. "Then what was tied may loosen violently." Mirabel felt a chill crawl up her spine. Still, she agreed. The ritual itself was brief. Herbs were ground, words spoken quietly, no screaming, no blood, no drama. That somehow made it more frightening. As they left, the woman finally spoke again. "From today, be careful who you tell your problems." The first month, Kunle changed. He called more, he stayed longer, he spoke about future plans without hesitation. Mirabel's fears softened into relief. The second month, Kunle mentioned his mother. "She wants to visit," he said casually. Mirabel smiled so hard her cheeks hurt. By the third month, Kunle began to talk about marriage openly. Mirabel felt victorious and exhausted. Mirabel cooked with devotion, not once, not twice, but month after month. Every cycle, she followed the instruction with trembling precision. She told herself it was only until safety arrived, only until marriage became certain, only until she could finally rest. Kunle changed completely. He became soft where he had once been cautious. He held her in public without hesitation. He spoke of marriage like a man who had already chosen. Sometimes he stared at her like she was the best thing that had ever happened to him. "You don't know what you've done to me," he said one night. "I feel anchored. Mirabel smiled even as guilt pressed heavily against her ribs. Plans were made, dates discussed, family introductions scheduled. By the 6th month, Kunle told her his mother was coming, not just to visit. She wants to meet you properly, he said, squeezing her hands. My wife-to-be. Mirabel's heart pounded with victory and fear. When Kunle's mother arrived, she came with warmth. She embraced Mirabel. She watched her closely, not with suspicion, but admiration. She spoke of her son's happiness with pride. This girl has brought peace into your life, she told Kunle. I can see it. That afternoon, Mirabel went into the kitchen to cook. The pot simmered gently, oil warmed, spices bloomed. She reached for the small container. Her hands hesitated. Kunle's mother stood quietly at the doorway, watching her, not as an enemy, but as a woman admiring the diligence of a future daughter-in-law. Mirabel uncapped the container. The smell rose immediately, metallic, unfamiliar. She leaned toward the pot. Then a voice broke the moment. Mirabel! She froze. What is that you are holding? Mirabel turned slowly. Kunle's mother stepped closer, her brows knitting as the scent reached her. What are you about to add to my son's food? The container slipped from her hand. It hit the floor. The liquid spread. The silence that followed was thick, heavy, undeniable. Mirabel dropped to her knees. She didn't deny it. She confessed. Everything. She told them about the 8 men, the repeated heartbreaks, how men always stayed long enough to take, then leave, how she gave up Germany for love and was discarded. Her voice cracked as she spoke. I was tired of being abandoned, she sobbed. I didn't want to trap him. I just wanted to stop being left behind. Kunle stood still, his face unreadable. I was afraid, Mirabel continued. Afraid that if I didn't do something, I would lose him like the others. Kunle's mother sat down slowly, grief in her eyes. My daughter, she said quietly, what you did came from pain, but it cannot build a home. Kunle spoke at last. I don't know how to love you after this, he said softly. There was no shouting, no insults. That hurt the most. That night, Mirabel packed her bags. The next morning, she left for the village. She didn't go to hide. She went to understand. In the village, she went to a seer, an old woman whose eyes seemed older than time itself. The woman listened. Then she asked questions. Where was your mother born? And your grandmother? And their mothers before them? The answers came slowly and formed a pattern. None of the women in her bloodline had stayed in a husband's house. The seer sighed. Long ago, their great-grandfather had taken a first wife. He brutalized her, humiliated her, and finally killed her. She was buried without rites. As she died, she cursed his lineage. Your daughters will know men, but they will never rest in marriage. The curse had walked silently through generations. Mirabel wept, not in terror, but in understanding, because for the first time, her pain had a name. The curse was broken, not because Mirabel was innocent, but because she acted without knowledge. The rituals were reversed, the bloodline was cleansed. Months later, Mirabel loved again. This time, she did not bind, she did not fear, she did not bleed into food. She stood free, and love stayed. Pain passed down in silence will repeat itself in different forms. What is forced will always break, but when truth is faced, even ancient curses lose their power. Mirabel did not find love by binding it. She found it by healing what came before her. If you enjoyed this story, like, comment, and subscribe to this channel so you will be notified when we post more stories like this.